Today, I'm going to give you an insight in terms of how I problem solve in Squarespace with designs like Bar. If you've been following our live YouTube videos and some of our other projects, you will have recognized this site. This is one that we put live about a month ago, and we're now at the point where we're looking to take it to the next stage. And I'm going to show you this optional extras section. And this is what we designed for Vicky, our client. She wants to expand on this. We want to eventually add these in as individual products via the e-commerce section. But for now, we've got the challenge of changing the ratio of the photos. So if we look at this one here, she wanted them more of a landscape orientation, 4x3, 3x2 or 16x9. Doesn't matter too much, but we want to show more of the photo. This is where she got to with her example. And what I'm going to do is show you how to use features like accordions, background blocks behind text areas, and rearranging these so it fits together as one really nice cohesive design. That's enough exposition. Let's crack on. Right, we've got this one here, and I want to adjust it to match the image on the right. So let's have a look at what's available here. So to start off with, we can actually see that this is a white block behind. Squarespace is being a bit buggy at the moment. It's not allowing me to reduce the height of shapes. I can reduce the width. I can extend the height, but I can't reduce it. So I think that's going to be something Squarespace are almost certainly going to be looking at. The other challenge as well is that Vicky was trying to add a text block and didn't know how to make it appear. So if you are adding a text block over top of a shape, just highlight the text, select anywhere within this bounding box, and I hold Command A on a Mac or Control A on a Windows computer. And now I can go to the color option and I can change the text. So that's one route around it. Also, we need to be mindful that the headings in this site are with a different font, and we'd want to keep everything nice and uniform throughout. So we could either go with that, and I'd have to rebuild the shape because Squarespace, frustratingly, isn't allowing me to reduce the height. In fact, Vicky thought that it was something that she was doing wrong. I've noticed this in the last week or so hopefully it's going to be resolved relatively quickly. But let's look at this first optional extra. Now, the first thing we can see is the content isn't available in the section above. So what I'm going to do is use this content to start with as a placeholder. Then Vicky can go in and change the content within that block. So first up, I'm going to grab this photo and bring it down, and we want a gold border around it. That means it's matching up with the image on the right. Now I can select this text block, and instead of reinventing the wheel, I can duplicate it and copy and paste it in. The only thing is, Squarespace may think it needs to be the other way around. So we've got a little bit of work to do there. So I could move that across, but you've not learned anything there because all I've done is duplicate what's already in place. So let's build these out from the ground up to show you how I created this effect. First of all, I went into Edit section, and then I put the gap width to 50 and the gap height to 0. If I was to extend the height, we can see it's adding dividers now in between the blocks, and I wanted it compact. So that's the first thing, is to get the height 0, meaning that this photo will sit flush to the top of this text block. I've deliberately moved this up so it's overlapping by one block because I wanted to start with, I suppose. I didn't want this here. If I go to edit the background, I didn't want the margin on the top and bottom to be any less, really. So what we can't do is put an individual margin to the top and then a shorter one to the bottom, which would allow this accordion to slot up in a bit tighter. So what I've done instead is just a little bit of a hack, but I've just overlapped it. But let's show you now how to build all of this from scratch. So I start off with a text block. I'll move it roughly into position. I'm not going to worry about anything else at the moment. And I'm just going to select this text. And I'll change the title so we can differentiate them when they're thinking mobile. But I'm going to paste that in. So the first thing we can see is the text is invisible, but as long as we remember where the text block is, we can click off it and back on, and now we can access the style background. And we are going to enable the background behind the text. Before we go to increase the padding, let's just expand it so it fills the full width. And we can see we've got a wider gap here, left and right, than there is top and bottom. That gives it more breathing space, better use of white space in our design. So again, select it once more. And instead of going for medium padding, I'm going to click on these three dots. And I think I can go to 10% left and right, 6 top and bottom. And that matches it up with this block here on the right. And now I'm going to do something similar. Before we move on to the next part, I'm just going to show you how it's broken down. That's a heading 3 with a space here. So if I was just to jumble it all back up, and if you just copy and paste it with no formatting whatsoever, it'll come in something like this. And if you paste it in like that, you create the text block around it. Then what we can do is press Enter to create the new sections and extra space in between them. So we've done that twice. Just fix that as well. This is already bold. Now we've pressed Enter to separate that paragraph from that paragraph. We can now choose to put that to a heading 3. If we bring this paragraph back in and try and make that a heading 3 or a heading 2, it will change the whole block, and that's what we don't want. So we have to press Enter to create that new paragraph to then be able to change the font size and to switch it up. Hope that makes sense. So we've created that block, we've created the image. Let's go to add another block, and this time we're going to add an accordion section. I'm going to drag it down, bring it roughly to the width that I need to, which is full width in this case. And the reason we've gone with it on a white background is that feels part of that section. So this, for the photo, the block, the card, and the accordion on that card all feel part of the same set. I could use a shape behind it all and not put background behind the text or the accordion. But because there is a bug in Squarespace at the moment, that's an absolute pain to do, because the moment we start putting more content in, it will auto-expand it, and that will cause lots of headaches and problems. We've just seen that's a head paragraph 3, not paragraph 2. So that's why we're using backgrounds on each of these options. Hopefully this is a temporary fix. Now I can click Edit with the accordion selected. I'm going to remove 2 and 3, and I can't remember what's included. What's the title? Okay, so we can see it's coming to the edge there. That's not what we want. Also, it's a heading style and we want it to be a paragraph style. Potentially paragraph 3. The description then needs to be smaller or the same size. That shouldn't be any larger. There we go. We'll go with that. And let's look at the row padding. We're going to bring that up to the small one, but we can use the 3 dots if we want to manually change that as well. And as we did before, we're going to scroll down to the option which allows the background, as shown here. We're going to click on that slider to turn it on, and now it's put a background around this pull down. And via the 3 dots, we can manually adjust the height between the lines. So I'm going to make that a little bit more compact. I didn't actually do it on the other one, but I want that to be really short and snappy and compact. And it's the padding here is what I want to update as well. So again, top and bottom, I think I can go down to maybe something like 3% here. And left and right, I'll increase that to 10% to match the text block above. It's similar to this one, only difference here is we've got less padding. So we're going to design here. Top and bottom is 10 as opposed to 15. So I'll fix it on this one once we're at it. Again, pop over to design, find the section that we're after. And row padding is what we want. And we'll go to the 3 dots and we can customize it. We want the same top and bottom, so that line fits uniform around that text block. And let's bring it up 1 to sit in line with the one next to it. And there we go. That one's got a capital, that one doesn't, so let's just fix that whilst we're at it. Now it's a case of rinse and repeat. So we can see a few of these things have moved out of the way or are looking more awkward now. Let's move these down. We can copy and paste this text in just a moment. But before we do any of this, I just want to make sure that these two are now working on mobile. Normally I do it one at a time, So I would get one section as I wanted. It's not too bad, actually, the top ones. So I'll just move these down out of the way. We're actually going to either reuse the components or get rid of them. So I'll change this to gift hamper. And then just double checking it's not reorganized them between desktop and mobile. The Squarespace Fluid Engine used to do that quite a bit. But let's just see it's got them the right way around. Yes, we're good here now. So we've got the gift hamper on the left and special occasions on the right. But it's always worth double checking that to make sure Squarespace hasn't got the two mixed up and underneath the wrong photo. Okay, we're just going to scroll back up. We can see that this is offset and we want it with the same padding either side. So I'm just going to reduce that, or alternatively, that's how far to the left does it go? Yeah, it's playing up a little bit. Normally I can bring it right out to the edge. There seems to be more padding right up than there is left, and this isn't behaving like it normally would in Squarespace. It could be because we've got some custom code in the design. This wasn't designed by myself. This was by my colleague Ken. So I'd have to double check to make sure he added any. That's the previous design. And we can see in this section, everything's fitting through nicely. And I'm just wondering, we can see there's no grid lines behind it. We can only do so much of editing. So it could be a bug. It could be just a case of needing to reload this one more time to get that to work. But for now, I think I'm just going to fix it as I see it here. There we go, bit of space below the price. And we've got two blocks there that we're ready to replicate. At this point, it's a good time to save. Head back to desktop view. And sometimes we've got to scroll back to the area we were before. And we can see that's still working on that view. So now what we can do is with those two working, we can select all of the elements and make up both of those blocks and then duplicate them and then move these duplicate items down into position. So I'm going to leave double height. We want these as uniform as possible. So this gap in between and the gap top and bottom. But if anything, I'd rather the gap here, the horizontal gap, being wider than the vertical gap in between the slides. Just feel it balances and looks more deliberate sometimes. So I've got an option here. I can either just swap the photo in above, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Is probably the safest option. We're not going to have any messing around to do on mobile or anything like that. So if I replace this photo, select it from the library, and just see if I can find that photo here for the massage therapy. There's a good chance you're screaming at the monitor now because I've scrolled past it. If I have, I apologize. Okay. It's taking a while to load some of these. I think I'm just going to have to choose a photo. Indeed, I missed it. Okay, we'll go with this one. If the design's set to fill, it will fill the frame. And the way we edit this is go to the design and then fill option here. So that one is in place. So I can copy this and now paste it in instead of that text. The what's included will of course need to be updated, but we'll keep that pretty consistent throughout. And then it'll be a case of Vicky can jump in and change that as and when she would like to. I don't think, is there a price for massage therapy? No, that's inquire as you go. So what we're going to do is just remove that space. But what we're going to have to do is just bring that container down one. So we want these to be nice and uniform fitting at the bottom. What I'm going to do now is just select this price, delete it. And I think I'll leave that extra paragraph spacing in just so it'll keep the structure for that section. Now, actually, I shouldn't do that. That's a bit naughty because we're leaving in extra code that doesn't need to be there. So I'm going to do it right. I'm just extended this container down and then brought the accordion back down so it fits nicely in line with the next block. Now with that done, I can just delete that. And let's just put the pre-lit hot tub in as our fourth one. Again, I'm going to select the photo from the library. I'll just choose this one, which lends itself. I'm not sure if it's the same photo. No, it's a different photo, but it lends itself better to the landscape orientation anyway. And let's select all of that text. And now paste it in. So we've got this format now where we can see is closer to the accordion than the others. So the spacing is a little bit compact. We've got two choices. We can either extend them all down. In fact, we've got three. We can extend this row down so that these are uniform with a little bit more space. In fact, there's four, because Vicky could go in and update the text to make that work over 2 lines instead of 3. Or alternatively, we could leave it as is there. And I think we just about get away with that. So I think that's what we're going to do, is I'm going to delete these options now. I'm going to move the Book Your Extras button further up. And what we can do is go to the pencil icon. Seems to have crashed. In all of the years I've been doing these tutorials, I've never had a browser crash like this with Squarespace for me before. So that's a first. I think I'm just going to have to bite the bullet, press the reload button, and it may or may not have saved the content from before. Okay, so as things happen, we had a internet cutout there that meant I had lost all of the design work that I got to this stage. So I've just caught us back up. I'm going to press save now before anything else happens. That's why it's always good to save regularly. And we're going to go back in and I'm going to try and click on this pencil icon. And we're going to go to design settings. And we're going to align that button to the center. It helps if I got it to the center of the page. I'm just going to double check actually that we've got these blocks to the center. If I select all of them and start to move them, we can see the gold line. That means that they're all bang on in the middle. So we want a gold line on this button, and that will align it to the center. Also, we can also reduce the bounding box if we want to, just to double check everything's in place as it should. If it's not quite lining to the center, we have to increase that bounding box to give it equal number of blocks left and right. And there we go. We've got our 4 optional extras. It's probably a little bit tight to the top. So if I select and drag down, I can drag all of these down an extra space. But then bear in mind, I'm going to have to bring, I think, some of these blocks down a little bit as well. There, to make sure the image heights are the same and uniform for all 4. If we jump to mobile, let's just have a quick check over it. Yep, so we can see now that the final 2 are all messed up. I think when I went to rebuild it, I just hadn't done the fixes for mobile before resetting it or rebuilding it. So that's why it's not quite working as it should. But with a little bit of adjusting, we should have it close enough. Okay, so you can see the image is behind the block. So I'm just going to move this one to the back just to bring the image back to the fore so we can find it again. Squarespace likes playing hide and seek every now and again with some of these content blocks, especially on mobile view. We can see here that the price is missing, so we just need to bring this down once more to sit below. And we need to bring this button to the bottom, and we can expand it to the right-hand side to fit. Now, for some reason, it's playing up on mobile view as well today. I think I've just hit it at a bad time when there's a couple of little glitches that are happening. These shouldn't happen when you go to work on Squarespace. But with constantly updated platforms that are always browser-based, always be prepared for some things to be a bit quirky every now and again. The trade-off of having the flexibility to do all of this is always worth it, in my opinion. I go to desktop, we'll preview it, go back to mobile and see how it's looking. Yeah, that's looking quite nice and balanced on that page. I could, if anything, just give a little bit more space at the bottom. There we go. We've taken a layout that was broken and we converted it into something that looks a lot sharper. This is a private landing page, so it's not visible on the website, so we don't have to panic about customers seeing this at the moment. It'll only be available when Vicky sent it to customers. This section here is going to be removed once this has all been tested and updated, but I'll leave it as the 4 so Vicky can add in the 5th herself, just to get used to the processes of using all of these tools. And change that to a light background so we can see the difference between them. But for me, that looks really nice, impactful, The photos are definitely larger now. I like this layout as well, so it really depends on personal taste then which direction you go. Hope you found that really helpful. If you need help and you need to send an SOS out with your Squarespace website, we have two communities over at school. DIY one where you're happy to do all of the legwork yourself and drop in and ask us some questions and we can problem solve and help you out. That's usually $15 a month, but as of October 2024, we've got a special deal that it's $1 per month for life, as long as you keep that subscription active. If you need more hands-on support, a personalized plan of how you can get your website from where it is to go live, and you want to drop into one of our current 4 live sessions where we can actively support and provide feedback and help based on your headaches, your issues. That's our coaching community. Both are available on School. Information for both in the description. We also have a free membership plan where I can streamline and provide you with a huge range of tutorials like this one completely for free. Otherwise, I'll see you soon. Cheers.